Okay, so we're back for the talks of the second session, and we're back with Ishani Mukherjee from the Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research, Kolkata in India. And the talk Ishani will give is entitled Deciphering Drivers of Mixed Species Shoals Among Wild Zebrafish. So Ishani, you can share your screen.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Okay, I can see your presentation, and I will let you talk. Have a nice talk.
Okay, so I am Ishani, and I am in my third year of PhD under the guidance of Dr. Anuradha Bhatt at IISER Kolkata, India. And today I will be talking about the drivers of mixed shoaling among wild zebrafish. So we all know that fishes can either be solitary or be in groups, and the balance between costs and benefits decide which mode of living fishes will opt for. So as the shoal size increases, the benefits change. So when a fish is single, it will suffer less competition, be noticed less by a predator. But when it's in a group, the benefits will change to increased vigilance, better predator avoidance, and so on. Similarly, the costs also change between the two modes of living, and a balance between costs and benefits decide shoaling tendencies. Now I will be introducing my model system, which is the zebrafish. This fish is found in shoals, and this is a map of India and surrounding areas which shows the distribution of zebrafish. These black dots show the water habitats where zebrafish are found. So this is what a zebrafish habitat looks like. We can see that the water is quite turbid. There is moderate vegetation. And from such habitats, we collect wild shoals and bring them to our lab. And these are fishes inside the tanks. Apart from zebrafish, in the same habitat, the predator to zebrafish, the chana or snakehead, is found, and we also collect the predator for our experiments. So there are multiple reports of zebrafish shoaling with other fishes like flying barbs, whitespots, panchax, and raspora. And so far, no one has really asked why zebrafish form such mixed shoals. They have seen this fish shoaling with different other species, but the causes of or the benefits of such a grouping has not yet been deciphered. And in Haringhata, India, we observed such shoals comprising the zebrafish, the flying barbs, and whitespots. So this is the same map I showed, and this is Haringhata. It's towards the eastern side of India, and this is the water body where I saw mixed shoals. From the water body, we collected shoals and we brought them to our lab. And I wanted to ask why mixed shoaling is found in zebrafish. So I checked up literature and I saw that there can be a variety of reasons to promote multi-species shoaling. And one such reason is easier predator avoidance. Apart from this, it can also be due to more efficient foraging. So some species form multi-species shoals because one of the species can forage more efficiently and the other species is less attacked by a predator. Mixed species shoaling can also be because of the lack of conspecifics. So we know that there are advantages to shoaling, but if I don't have members of my own species, I would want to shoal with the other species. Mixed species shoaling can also be because of familiarity. So some fish will choose other species that they are familiar with over conspecifics with whom they are not familiar. So I wanted to ask, which of these are drivers of mixed shoaling in wild zebrafish? So my first question is, does a predator drive zebrafish towards mixed shoaling? So what did I expect? So I saw that there are differences in body patterns across the three species. Zebrafish have multiple stripes. Flying barbs have a single stripe, and whitespots do not have any stripes. And apart from this, I also quantified that the length of the three species are different. So these two factors contribute to oddity, which means that a shoal comprising the three species, the individuals of such shoals will look different from one another, and this might cause this will increase a predator's hunting success. So this is well established. And another thing is the predator might prefer a particular species over the other species, and this might drive multi-species shoaling. So a balance between the oddity and the predator's preference towards a species might decide whether a fish will go for single species shoaling or multi-species shoaling. So how did we test this? This is my experiment tank, and I divided my experiment tank into 3 zones. The end zones had either a mixed shoal or a conspecific shoal, and in the middle chamber, I kept a predator in a perforated chamber, and I released a test fish in the middle zone, and I checked whether it's associating with either shoal, and I considered it associating with shoals if it was one body length away from each side. So I released 60 such test fish, and in 50% of my trials, there was no predator. And also I exchanged the shoals to prevent side bias. And from the recordings, I calculated the time to associate with each shoal. So this is how my experiment setup looked like from the side. So what did we find? We found that in presence of a predator, a test fish spends significantly more time associating with the mixed shoal. So it means 2 things. One is, despite oddity, mixed shoals are being chosen. And we speculate that this is because the predator might prefer the other fishes over zebrafish. This is most likely because the other fish swim slower and are also quite large compared to the zebrafish. So it will be beneficial in terms of energy to consume the other fishes. And I am doing experiments to understand this better. My second question was, does zebrafish benefit in terms of foraging by mixed shoaling? So what did we expect? So I already mentioned that there was a difference in length across the species. Apart from this, I also found that the oxygen consumed by the 3 species is different. The larger fish consume more oxygen as compared to the smaller zebrafish. So from such observations, I had 2 hypotheses. So I thought that larger fish that consume more oxygen would have the lowest feeding time. And secondly, within mixed shoals, larger fish would consume most food. So how did we test this? A shoal was released in a tank, and we had 4 kinds of shoals: zebrafish, flying barb, white spot, and mixed shoals. We released a shoal, and then we added food, and then we calculated the time taken to consume all food. So this is how my experiment tank looked like from the top. And so what did we find? So as I had expected, I found that zebrafish eat significantly slower compared to the other species. But unlike what I expected, in mixed shoals, we saw that zebrafish eat equal amount of food compared to the other species. So this is quite interesting. And so we saw that although zebrafish eat slower than the other species, in mixed shoal, zebrafish eat the same amount of food as other species. So this is a benefit for zebrafish. My third question was, does zebrafish shoal with other species because there are less conspecifics present in the habitat? So what did we expect? So if there is a shoal comprising all conspecifics and the shoal comprising less conspecifics, a test fish would always go to a shoal of its own species. So this expectation was based on literature, and so I wanted to test this. So how did we test this? We test fishes were exposed to 2 choice tests, and association time to each choice, each shoal was measured. So test fishes were exposed to 4 choice tests. So I gave them a choice between a small shoal comprising zebrafish and a small shoal comprising a small mixed shoal with 2 zebrafish or a small mixed shoals with 3 zebrafish. And similarly, there were 2 more choices for bigger shoals. So this is my experiment setup. And like the previous experiment, shoals were exchanged to prevent side bias. And from video recordings, association time to either shoal was calculated. So what did we find? We found that despite the number of conspecifics, zebrafish spent equal time to single species shoals and mixed species shoals. So test fish would shoal with any shoal. They didn't mind whether it's a conspecific shoal or a mixed shoal. So this is quite interesting, and this is not what we had expected. My fourth question was, does zebrafish shoal with other species because they are familiar to the other species? So what do we mean by familiar? So 2 fishes would be considered familiar if they were from the same habitat and were kept in the same stock tank. And 2 fishes would be considered unfamiliar if they were from different habitats and were kept in different stock tanks. So what did we expect? Based on literature, we expected fishes to choose familiar shoals over unfamiliar shoals. So what did we do? We gave test fishes choices, 6 kinds of choices. So at each trial, the shoals differed based on the familiarity and species composition. And so these were the 6 choices. And this is my setup, and stimulus shoals were exchanged to prevent side bias. And from the video recordings, association time to each was calculated. So what did we find? We found that when given a choice between a familiar conspecific and an unfamiliar conspecific, test fishes went for a familiar conspecific. And also, when given a choice between a familiar conspecific shoal and the unfamiliar mixed shoal, test fishes went for a familiar conspecific shoal. So from this, we see that out of the 6 choices, 2 kinds of familiarity does drive shoaling decisions. So my title was Deciphering the Drivers of Mixed Shoaling Among Wild Zebrafish. So what did we decipher? So we saw that benefits related to predator avoidance, advantages related to foraging, and familiarity drives zebrafish towards mixed shoaling. So there can be other potential drivers of mixed shoaling as well. There are studies suggesting that if two species have similar swimming speeds, they might engage in mixed shoaling. Then advantages related to social learning might drive different species towards mixed shoaling. And another thing one can test is why the other species, like why whitespots or flying barbs, what is their benefit to be a part of mixed shoals. So I would like to thank my supervisor for her help and guidance, my lab members for useful inputs regarding my work, and ISA Kolkata for funding, and Animal Behavior Life for giving me the opportunity to present my work, and also Gentle Communication for helping me prepare the slides for this presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ishani. I think it was very clear. You did a really good job. So I'm still waiting for questions in the YouTube chat, but I will maybe start by asking one.
Yes.
I will be maybe a bit specific just regarding one of the many experiments you presented. I was surprised by the one where you show that the zebrafish are slower to consume food when they are in a zebrafish shoal. And then when they are in a mixed shoal, if I understood properly, they consume food faster. Is that correct?
Yes, they consume food, equal amount of food as the other two species.
Okay. Yes. But then does it mean, so my questions was regarding the mechanism. So do you think they were eating faster in this other condition or swimming faster because maybe they were more enthusiastic or something, or something else?
Yes, it could be that they were, they thought, like from experience, they might have thought that the larger fishes are there. So due to competition, due to the competitive nature, due to competition, they might want to eat up faster. And they are also faster swimmer than the other two fishes, so that will help them to consume more food.
Okay, so if they wanted to go faster than the others, they could, but maybe only when there is competition. And when there isn't, they don't really care and they take the time.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, I think AB George had a similar question because I've just seen it removed. There is another question from Said. Well done, Ishani. I was wondering what was the food item that you used to explore foraging activities among species. Was the selected food item available and experienced by every species? Awesome presentation.
Thank you. They were given frozen dried worms, and they were familiar with, all the three species were familiar with this food, and as they had been eating this food for a month. So before the start of this experiment, the three species were in the lab and for a month, and during that time, they all ate that food.
Okay, I think that answers Said's question. And I think we will stop here. So I just let the chat know that if they want to ask further questions, maybe you will be able to answer them in the Discord server.
Yes.